Using GROK AI, changing my English teaching. As an English teacher with over 10 years of experience in different classrooms, from high school students learning basic grammar to adults improving their professional speaking skills, I've always looked for new tools to make my teaching better. The arrival of artificial intelligence has really changed things in education, but not all AI is the same. On my journey, I've found GROK AI, made by XAI, to be a great helper in the classroom. Unlike other general programs like ChatGPT, GROK's smart, insightful, and very accurate answers have helped me speed up paperwork, make learning personal, and focus more on what really matters, helping my students speak English naturally. In this video, I'll talk about how I use GROK every day in my teaching, give real examples of how it helps, share tips for getting the best answers, and finally, encourage other English teachers to try it. By letting GROK handle the boring tasks, I can spend more time on the fun, human parts of learning a language, like speaking and saying words correctly. This makes students more interested and better at English. GROK as a homework evaluator, accurate corrections and detailed explanations. One of the most game-changing ways I use GROK is for checking and correcting my students' homework. Before, grading essays, compositions, or grammar exercises would take me hours every night and often left me tired for the next day's classes. Now, I guide my students to talk directly with GROK to get a first opinion. This turns what used to be a teacher's lonely task into a fun, interactive learning chance. For instance, after giving a writing assignment, let's say, describe a memorable travel experience in 300 words, I tell students to send their rough drafts to GROK with a specific question. In class, I show them how to ask effectively. Please check this essay for grammar, vocabulary, structure, and flow. Give corrections with explanations and suggest ways to make it better. GROK answers with detailed breakdowns, pointing out mistakes like subject-verb agreement issues. For example, the traveler go to Paris, corrected to the traveler goes to Paris, with an explanation of third-person singular rules, and offering style improvements, like swapping out repeated words with synonyms to make their vocabulary richer. To show you what I mean, let's look at a real example from my intermediate English as a second language class last semester. A student named Maria turned in a paragraph full of verb tense mix-ups. Yesterday, I visit the museum and I see many paintings. It was amazing because I learn about history.
When she asked GROK, following my instructions, GROK replied, "Your paragraph is interesting, but there are verb tense errors. Visit should be visited to keep the simple past consistent. Similarly, see becomes saw. This makes sure the story flows in order." For vocabulary, amazing is fine, but fascinating could add variety. Overall score, 7 out of 10, solid content, but polish the grammar for better clarity.
This not only fixed her work, but also explained why each change was made, helping her understand the rules in a way that just memorizing never could. In class, I go over these reports that GROK makes, talking about them as a group to help students learn from each other. Students really like how fast it is. They can make changes right away, and I can keep track of their progress without having to grade every single draft myself. Also, GROK can handle many different kinds of evaluations, even for creative assignments. For poetry analysis, I ask students to prompt, look at this haiku for its imagery, syllable structure, and how deep its theme is, comparing it to old Japanese styles. GROK might reply with a detailed analysis, pointing out how one of a student's lines doesn't follow the 5-7-5 syllable pattern and suggesting changes, with examples from Basho's works. This level of detail is much more than I could give to 30 students in one go, which lets me use that time for cultural discussions instead. Crafting effective queries, the art of precision in English. A key lesson I teach my students, and it's super important for GROK to work well, is how important it is to ask questions clearly and in English. GROK, like most smart AI, learns mostly from English information. It uses tons of stuff like school papers, books, and things found online. If you ask questions in other languages, the answers might not be as good. This is because of tricky translations or not enough information in those other languages for GROK to learn from. In class, I always tell them, think of GROK like someone who speaks English perfectly and knows everything. Talk to it in its language to have the best chat. To get the best answers, I teach them a special way to ask questions. Start with the background. As a B1 level English student, check this sentence. This tells GROK who you are, so it can give feedback that fits your skill level. Use action words like correct, explain, suggest, or compare to tell Grok what kind of answer you want. Don't ask unclear questions like, fix this. That might only give you small changes. Instead, say, please fix this sentence by sentence, explain the grammar, and give other ways to say it. In one activity, a student first asked Grok in Spanish, correct this text, and only got a simple translation fix. But when they asked again in English, like I told them to, Grok gave a full breakdown. It even suggested better ways to say things, like changing I am agree to I agree, and explained why, talking about state verbs. This skill is useful for more than just homework. I teach how to ask good questions as a bigger skill, like being good at using computers and the internet. Students practice making their questions better in pairs, then they share what Grok said. This makes them think carefully about how language works when talking to AI. It's really empowering. Students who aren't native English speakers feel more sure of themselves when they see quick and helpful results. Freeing up time for speaking, boosting speaking skills. By letting Grok handle the grading, I get back precious class time for what AI can't do, real-time spoken interaction. Speaking is the top skill in language learning, but it often gets pushed aside because of all the paperwork. In my classes, I now focus on debates, role-playing, and conversations, giving instant feedback on pronunciation, tone, and how smoothly students speak. For example, during a unit on environmental topics, students prepare speeches using Grok to make their scripts better, asking it, suggest improvements for clarity and persuasive language in this speech draft. Once they're polished, they present them out loud. I walk around, noting errors like mispronounced vowel sounds, for example, the T in think as T and not T, or using too many filler words, replacing with pauses. Grok handles the written preparation, so I can focus on the sounds, using tools like phonetic charts to keep track. This instant feedback builds muscle memory. A student who used to say, I think that is important, now corrects themselves after I show them the right way. In advanced classes, I use Grok for mixed activities. Students record audio debates, turn them into text with apps, and then Grok looks at the text for vocabulary, while I give feedback on how they express themselves. This two-pronged approach speeds up progress. Data from my classes shows a 25% improvement in speaking confidence scores after using Grok, based on surveys before and after. Why Grok is better than ChatGPT and other AI tools. A comparison. My support for Grok comes from looking at them side by side. ChatGPT, even though it can do many things, often gives answers that are too general and use too many words. They don't have much depth or fun, which can make students lose interest. Grok, which is inspired by The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, adds a clever touch. For example, it might fix a long sentence by saying, this sentence is longer than a Tolkien novel. Let's break it up to make it easier to read. This makes learning fun. Its real-time knowledge updates, it doesn't have an old cutoff date, make sure it uses current examples, like referring to slang trends from 2025. This is different from other AI models that don't update their information. Other AI tools like Bard or Claude aren't as specific. Grok's XAI Foundation focuses on finding the truth instead of making things up, giving explanations that are well supported. In my own checks, Grok's grammar corrections were 95% accurate, while ChatGPT's were 85%. Also, Grok is easy to get to through x.com and its apps, with features like voice mode on your phone. This means it fits right into learning. Students can ask it questions out loud for help with how to say words, though I still handle all the full speaking corrections myself. Extra benefits include Grok's tools for looking at posts from X or other web content, which makes lessons more interesting. To help students learn new words, I have them ask Grok about common phrases from recent tweets. Explain, spill the tea with examples from social media. This helps them understand language in real-world use, which is much better than just textbook exercises. Expanding horizons, supplementary materials, and classroom integrations. To make Grok even more useful, I prepare extra materials. I share prompt templates through Google Docs, like assignment grading template, paste text here, rate on a scale of 1 to 10 based on criteria, explain each score. For my visual learners, I show off Grok's image analysis, even though it doesn't create images directly without confirmation. I ask it to describe scenes from literature to help with understanding. In project-based learning, Grok helps with research. For example, I'll ask it to summarize the key themes in To Kill a Mockingbird with quotes. This helps students get started on their essays, freeing me up for Socratic discussions. Ethical considerations are super important. I teach about the limits of AI, like how to spot bias, making sure students see GROK as a tool, not something to completely rely on. A call to action for English educators. By using GROK, I've changed my teaching from tiring to exciting. By handling corrections, grading, and explanations, GROK frees me up to focus on the most important thing, connecting with people through talking. I really recommend GROK to all English teachers. It's better than ChatGPT and other similar tools because it's more accurate, engaging, and new. Try it and watch your classes get better, with students who don't just learn English, but really experience it. As we move into a future with AI, tools like GROK make sure that teachers stay at the heart of education, focusing on what makes us human, our voices.